Hello, hello. What's up, y'all? Today we've got a question from the top of the funnel community, and I want to just take a couple minutes and chime in on this. A boss asked this question. A little bit of context here. So he says that they saw 2,100 visitors coming from, I'm assuming that's from SEO or to their website in general, in May. But of those 21,000 visitors, only 128 of those people subscribed or signed up for a free trial. And then of those 128, 15 became paid subscribers. And so the question is, of course, how do you improve the conversion rate? So looking at these metrics, we can definitely see that there's some room for improvement. So just to do some quick math here, right? So we're talking 21,000 visits or sessions, 128 signups, 15 customers. So our traffic to sign up conversion rate is approximately 0.6%. Now, there are so many factors here, so I can't tell you exactly what this number should be. My experience is about a 1 to 5%, sort of site-wide average conversion rate for a product-led SaaS, right? Meaning that there's like a free trial or you sign up for a free account or whatever it is, right? Generally, about 1 to 5% site-wide is a pretty standard kind of benchmark that we tend to use internally. So, we're talking a couple of, almost an order of magnitude here in terms of potential improvement. The customer conversion rate, I'm going to leave out for now. I don't know enough about the business to know if this is good or not. 11% to me seems fairly healthy, depending on sort of what the product is, how it's priced, all that stuff. But this has a whole bunch of other factors that we aren't going to touch on today. Okay, so how do we go from this 0.6% conversion rate to something that's a little healthier in the 1 to 5% range? So first of all, I just want to give a couple shout outs here to some of the folks who have already jumped in on this. So Precious, thanks for your ideas here around embedding the form and sort of the opt-ins and all that good stuff. And then Maiva has a bunch of really great detailed information here, which I agree with a lot of these specific tips. So I want to just dive into those a little bit more here, and what we can kind of unpack some of these things. Okay, so first of all, I just want to sort of tackle some of the things that Precious shared here. So first of all, Precious, hopefully don't take this offensively in any way. I think that you're sort of spot on for things that work sometimes for some businesses. But in my experience, I think one of the biggest mistakes that content marketers make is that they focus on getting traffic to the site, and then they think if I just tweak enough things on the page, I will eventually get that traffic to convert. And I think that that's sort of the wrong approach, right? So if you're getting traffic to a page and it's not converting well, it generally is not going to be fixed by simply changing things on the page, right? So putting pop-ups or email forms, that kind of stuff. Secondly, I think in this scenario specifically, because a boss mentions free trials, we are most likely dealing with product-led SaaS versus like a sales-led, which generally means that our primary call to action is always going to be sign up for a trial, right? Try the product, use it yourself. Yes, you can capture email subscriptions as sort of a secondary CTA, but in my experience, it's really hard to take an email subscriber and convert them into a buyer. And it's generally not very efficient for product-led SaaS. That works, in my experience, better for sales-led organizations where there's sort of a more robust lead nurturing apparatus. There's maybe like a sales team who can reach out to those folks or qualify them in some way. So when we're talking about product-led SaaS, I'm pretty much, my general opinion is like, don't even try to capture an email unless it's through a sign-up form. That's my general approach. So that said, I think that Precious, you're spot on in terms of, hey, do an analysis of your pages, sort of dive in a little deeper, understand what's going on here. I definitely think this creating X versus Y or sort of like product comparisons, alternatives, that kind of stuff tends to convert better because it's higher intent, right? It just makes sense. And so I think that's really the key here, is that generally the solution to improving your conversion rate from the blog is not, it's not a conversion rate optimization exercise. It's a content strategy exercise, right? So usually putting more pop-ups or banners or call to actions or whatever on your page isn't going to change things significantly. What is going to change things is that changing your content strategy. So changing the topics that you're going after and making sure that they are higher intent. And so I've got some more details on that and some tips that I want to share here in just a moment. But first, I want to jump quickly to Maiva's post, because I think she, sort of discusses the same challenge, right? So she's saying, hey, she would do the reverse, right? So rather than looking at pages that are getting traffic and trying to tweak a bunch of things to get them to convert higher, go the other way. Look at the pages that are already converting the best and figure out why, and then figure out how you can either drive more traffic to those pages or apply learnings from what has worked on other pages to create new content, new pages. And I think that's spot on. And I want to talk about that a little bit at a strategic level here too in just a second. Before we get to that, I'm gonna just go through the rest of her post here. Again, Maiva, thanks so much for chiming in with such great detail and input here. I think this is spot on, right? So a lot of folks focus on traffic, they focus on search volume. They don't really think about intent too much, again, because they come to the mindset of, if I can just get the traffic to the site, then I can tweak the knobs and twist the levers and whatever, flip the levers, flip the switches, whatever it is, and get some portion of those people to sign up. Now that's true, but it's highly inefficient generally, and you're never going to sort of hit like a true sort of content product fit, if you will, or getting folks to actually convert at a reasonably high 1 to 5% kind of rate is generally a matter of changing that approach, changing that mindset, rather than making those adjustments as we already discussed. So again, Maiva's got some great advice here, doing that strategic analysis, really sort of breaking down again what's already working, how can you apply those learnings, and then maybe thinking about a tactical analysis for things like social proof and CTAs. But I think before you get there, let's talk about your strategy. And one of the big challenges that I think people run into with content strategy that leads to this kind of outcome with a low conversion rate. So let's talk about how most people kind of approach content strategy, or how they think about the idea of the funnel, right? So when you hear the term top of the funnel or top of the funnel content, you might think about sort of these super broad, generic, high level keywords, right? Like AOV, just in case you're not familiar, that means average order value, or, what is AOV or something like that, being really the top of the funnel, like, sort of the earliest stages of awareness. But I would actually challenge that idea. I think that's a mistake. I think that people think that, anything that's super broad and generic is the top of the funnel. And again, if I just get enough traffic to kind of pass over this page, then people will sort of trickle through down to the funnel and I'll drive conversions. The way that I think about it is actually that those types of topics are really pre-funnel. And what do I mean by pre-funnel? I mean that they're relevant to the right audience, but they don't demonstrate any kind of need, right? So if I'm just searching for something super broad, like what is AOV, I'm clearly just trying to understand the term, right? That doesn't mean that I'm not ready to buy something. I'm not looking to convert it into anything. Now, bringing me to your website might have some long-term residual value, but the chances that I'm going to convert in any sort of timeline that you can measure or attribute and is going to show up in your conversion rate is very low, right? Because if I'm just learning about AOV and your product is built to help me improve my AOV, then I'm probably not going to be signing up anytime soon. So when we think about pre-funnel, I think this is the trap that people fall into, is that they focus on these keywords. They think this is the top of the funnel, and that, again, yes, the conversion rate is going to be low, but if I just get enough traffic, it'll make up for it. My experience is actually, no, that's generally not the case. Pre-funnel content can have different value in terms of your strategy. There's brand value, there's all kinds of things that we're not going to touch on too much today, but from a conversion perspective, the value is generally very minimal, at least in any way that you can measure or attribute directly. Instead, I think what we need to think about is the true definition of the funnel, in my opinion, is problems, solutions, products, right? So the top of the funnel really doesn't begin until your reader knows they have a problem and they're trying to figure out what it is or what the details are of that problem, and then ultimately find a solution, right? So until they get to that stage, if they're looking for what is AOV, that doesn't mean that they have a problem, right? That means that they are just looking for information generally. That means they're not really in a buying cycle. They're not really in the funnel, so to speak. So what we want to do is we want to sort of shift the whole strategy up, right? Reduce these sort of pre-funnel topics, replace them with sort of truly problem-aware topics that align with sort of the different stages of actual buyer qualification and the buying process, right? So the top of the funnel, a top of the funnel topic should sort of be indicative of someone who is both need and persona qualified. So again, if you are selling a product that is all about improving AOV, then a top of the funnel topic would be, how do I improve my AOV, right? That's a problem that I have that I'm trying to find a solution for. Then when we move to the middle of the funnel, we think about need, persona, and interest qualified. And then finally, at the bottom of the funnel, need, persona, interest, and intent, meaning that they've identified, that they need a product, a specific product, and they're trying to determine which product is the right one for them. So ultimately, the way that this funnel would look, right, would be something like this. How do I increase my AOV? Which cross-selling tools will help me increase my AOV? And then how does Privy, which is a tool in this space, compare to other cross-selling tools, right? And so you can see here how much more focused this is. Now, of course, this is going to be much lower volume, but much higher intent. And so when you think about sort of the overall number of conversions, the conversion rate that you're trying to achieve, those kind of things, generally this strategy is going to be much more efficient at driving actual conversions or signups into a trial versus versus sort of taking that super broad approach, sift the world, if you will, and sort of going ultra broad with your topics. So I think that's my main suggestion. Anytime that people ask me about, blog conversion rate or sign up conversion rate for a SaaS, anything like that, it generally comes back to this strategic question of, where does your funnel start, and does your content actually align with a truly sort of need qualified audience, or is it just targeting, sort of someone in your industry who may or may not have an actual need for your product? So that's a big thing that I always suggest. And I just want to close out this video because I just love using Ahrefs as an example of this, because I feel like they have just, over the years, they've obviously done such a great job of educating and converting people with their blog and their own content. And so if you look at this as an example here, this post they wrote about Google rankings dropping dramatically, one thing I'll just point out right away is, there's not a bunch of pop-ups or banners. They don't even, they have a small subscribe here and a couple things, but it's not, an incredibly CTA heavy process. They clearly have not done, a whole bunch of CRO tactics to try to create urgency or whatever, to try to get people to subscribe. Instead, the content is what sells, right? And so when we do think about sort of the tactical implementation of your call to action, it really shouldn't be putting a flashing banner in front of somebody to try to get them to sign up, right? It should be an obvious solution that you're recommending. And so I think that's, going back to that funnel idea, right? If you're looking to increase your AOV, then that leads to the obvious solution that you should use a cross-selling tool to sort of upsell or cross-sell to your customers. And then that leads to the obvious product that Privy can provide that solution for you. And so there's sort of a natural progression here. And I think that's what really makes really good content marketing, is that you're selling by providing value, by showing them how to solve the problem that they have. But that starts by reaching them when they actually know they have a problem. And so, I'll just close out with a couple quick notes, which is inside top of the funnel, our Tofu Plus in our top of the funnel resource library. I've actually written a few different resources related to this topic. So doing a teardown of a blog post with a 5% conversion rate, doing a breakdown of this framework that we use internally, which we call the problem solution product framework. So this is sort of how we create top of the funnel content that, again, meets that reader where they're at, which is, I understand I have this problem and I'm looking for potential solutions. And then walking them through the funnel so that hopefully at the end of that, blog post, they're actually ready to convert. So you don't have to walk them through 20 different steps to get them to sign up for a free trial. You don't have to nurture them for years to get them to sign up for a SaaS product. Instead, how do you provide enough information so that they're ready to just take that next step and try out the product? And so that's what this framework is all about. So yeah, if you're not already a member of Tofu Plus, that might be helpful for you. All right, I think that's it. I hope that this was a helpful walkthrough. Abbas, thanks again for your question. Thanks again to Precious and Maiva for chiming in here with thoughts and ideas on how Abbas can solve that problem. If you're watching this video outside of Tofu, outside of Top of the Funnel, this is our free Slack community. You can join it by visiting yesoptimist.com/tofu, TOFU, and we'd love to have you. All right, y'all. That's all for today. Talk soon. Cheers.